Hello everyone and welcome back to Scottish Winter Weekly. I hope you've been making the most of the conditions of late, and I've got some good news that it's going to continue on for the next 5 or 6 days for definite, but hopefully staying a bit colder than average next week, but not as drastic as we've got coming up over the next couple of days, which do look really good, especially around Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So over the weekend, there were colder temperatures and some rime around. Not as much as we would have hoped on Friday and Saturday. Sunday, it did rime up a lot as with the northerly winds did come back. The northern Cairngorms have been really busy, to be expected. There have been some routes in not the best condition, the lower down stuff, and the freezing level was sticking around just the base of the crags yesterday with freezing rain on the routes, which then cooled down overnight, and we've got some tremendous conditions today up in the corries. They're looking really white, and they're going to continue to look white over the next few days. If anything, they're going to get too white as we continue to get more and more precipitation over the next couple of days. So the turf is beginning, well, has frozen on exposed platforms, and on the deeper sections it's still not completely frozen, especially if it's under powder, and I doubt that will freeze. It's just insulated by a good few layers of snow. So if you are looking at the lower grade gullies, still not quite the time for that. The snow will need some cycles before it can freeze thaw to create neve to climb. Similarly, there will be loose blocks in those gullies under that powder that's not consolidated, and the turf that's deep and under the powder isn't frozen. So it's not the best to be damaging that kind of turf, but anything that's a little bit steeper, buttress roots, turf is freezing on those now, especially the highest buttresses. And now the snowed up rock roots are sufficiently rimed, especially in the northern Cairngorms. But over tonight and the next few days, a lot more stuff is going to come in condition. There is going to be heavy and persistent snow down to relatively low levels, perhaps even sea level. And I've seen some forecasts saying snow in London, which is, that's great to see for us winter enthusiasts, but there will be disruption to the roads caused by that. There is a yellow weather warning for the northwest of Scotland through midweek, and that might increase to amber, I reckon. So why is that happening? We've got this low pressure system spinning through. We saw this last week, but it's now confirmed. It's really high confidence that this is coming through. Lots of moisture in it, and there's still northerly winds behind it. So the moisture caught in this is going to fall as snow down to really low levels, and persistently so over the next couple of days. So chuck an extra belay jacket in. They're going to be really cold days. Now, something just to note on this chart here is there's a slightly warmer front making its way through Friday night into Saturday. And if this comes through, I imagine it's not going to be particularly great conditions on Saturday. This is a warm front, is going to raise the temperature, strip the crags as it stands, but give that great consolidation to the snowpack that we do need before going colder again. Not as cold, not the straight northerlies, more of a westerly flow as we tend to have as from the UK, but still on the colder side of the jet stream. So it should create a really good cycle through to next week. Now, as for these snow accumulations that we've talked about over Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, I've just brought a chart up here that will show them coming through. Initially on the west coast, northwest through Tuesday, down to potentially really low levels, through to Wednesday more on the east coast as the low pressure moves across to the North Sea. And I've just got the freezing level here just to emphasize how cold we are truly getting. You can see these really warmer, you can see the slightly higher freezing level, and that is the low pressure core that has that moisture in it, which is what's clashing with this really bitterly cold air to create precipitation, and we're freezing down to sea level. So hard frosts, icy roads, especially in the early mornings. Do just be careful if you are going northwest. And you can see this warmer front moving through, or trying to move through towards Saturday, just raising that freezing level slightly on the weekend. And it's not going to disappear if it gets to that freezing level at all. Nothing of the sense. It's just going to soften the snowpack so that when it does refreeze, hopefully next week, we're going to have some really beautiful conditions. Now, what I've got here is just another model just showing the kind of depths that we are seeing, and there's some ridiculously big numbers. You can see there's a big clear correlation between this low pressure moving through and the snow getting dumped on the northwest. Now, is this going to get named? Potentially, because there will be some really widespread impacts if this amount of snow does fall, especially to lower levels. It's not associated with particularly strong winds. There will be very windy days, maybe 40, 50 miles an hour, but not as strong as you would associate with a named storm system. But the implications of this persistent snow falling to fairly low elevations might cause significant disruption for it to be named. And that's they're moving through towards the southeast, potentially lots of snow in the lakes and all over southern England as well. Temperatures, again, I'd just like to stress how bitterly cold it's going to be, especially on Friday. I've seen -11 popping up over the Ben. So here, Wednesday, as the cold front has moved, the low pressure's moved through and allowing the cold air to come back. There is the bit of temperature variation between day and night cycles here as well. Moving through to Friday, looking like the coldest day of the week. They're ridiculously cold. There's the -10 over the Ben Nevis area on Friday. And again, just skipping forward to Saturday, you can see those temperatures just lifting for a moment as that warmer front moves through before cooling down again just to below average. So hopefully some good cycles to come through here. And again, just the metagram here for Inverness, you can see the really cold temperatures we've got now just spiking through Friday night into Saturday before lowering just to slightly below average again as well. But still, hopefully that should be good enough for winter climbing. Now, takeaways for this are, I'm sorry to the weekend warriors, but the best time to be getting out is during midweek, and it's going to be very unpleasant conditions, very unpleasant weather, but conditions, the climbs themselves are going to be in immaculate condition, maybe too good to be true. If you're going to the Northern Corries, they're going to be absolutely caked in rime. It's going to be extremely slow going if you're going to the highest crags. You could look at slightly lower lying crags. Lots and lots of stuff is going to be in condition, basically. So use a bit of imagination if you want. If you don't, go to the Northern Corries and enjoy digging through meters of rime. Similarly, with the turf now freezing readily, you could look at some more west coast stuff. And with the northwest, with their lack of snow, their turf should be more frozen than the insulated stuff that we've had in the Cairngorms. And finally, it may be worth considering some more icier routes now that we have got the colder temperatures persisting, as well as lots of seepage from an extremely wet start to November. But ultimately, pop another belay jacket in, potentially drop the grades if you're going to higher crags, because they will be caked for the next few days, and get a bit imaginative because there will be lots of options over the next few days. And fingers crossed that this weekend is good enough for folks to still get out. But like I say, the best conditions are going to be midweek, but not necessarily the best weather. It might be a bit of a sufferfest out there. But thank you very much for listening.